Hi everyone, it's Janelle from Reimagining the Talk, and I am super excited to be here with you on another Facebook Live. I'm going to be trying to do these every Tuesday, so keep an eye out for them. And don't worry, they're recorded, so if you can't join us live, you can watch it whenever. So today, I just want to do a quick video about what does it actually mean to raise a sexually healthy child. So on the Reimagining the Talk blog and on the Facebook page, I mention this idea of raising sexually healthy children often, but I don't always stop to make sure that people understand what does that mean. So I thought today we could just pause for a moment and talk about what does it mean to raise a sexually healthy child. And just wanted to also outline the holistic sexual health definition that I use as a foundation for the Reimagining the Talk course, the sex ed curriculum that I've created for my health website, Project School Wellness, and then just any other conversation talk that I do for parents and also in my own home with my kids. So let's just start by looking at a holistic definition of sexual health. So when you hear the phrase sexual health, what is it that you think of? And real quick, I'm worried that maybe my mic isn't on. Hopefully it is, and we are good. Sorry. Let me just make sure. Hello? Oh, okay, good. It is working. Okay, sorry about that. So let's get back. So when we hear the term sexual health, what comes to mind? What is it in your mind? What does it mean to be sexually healthy? And like oftentimes people probably think of, okay, having safer sex, getting consent, understanding reproduction, understanding how to use contraceptives, understanding how to prevent STIs. Those are all things that probably come to mind when we think about sexual health and kind of like the staples of a sex ed program or maybe like a Planned Parenthood presentation or something like that. And while those are really important aspects of sexual health, they are hardly the only thing contributing to whether or not a person is living with optimal sexual well-being or if they're actually thriving in terms of their sexual health. Those are only pieces of the puzzle. And really, from my perspective, sexual health is just so much more holistic and comprehensive, and it relates to more than, asking or granting permission or knowing how to use a condom or not knowing how to not, get a sexually transmitted infection. Rather, I define sexual health as the process of embracing and enjoying your sexuality throughout your lifetime. So while those things I mentioned play a role in that, that's only one piece of the puzzle, as I said. So more specifically, I believe that sexual health refers to embracing and enjoying your sexuality throughout life by nurturing 5 core elements. So first is by building confidence and security in your identity, in your body, and in your feelings and emotions. 2 is nurturing enriching relationships. 3, exercising autonomy over your sexuality and body. 4, understanding how the body works and keeping it working at an optimal level. And then 5, bringing all of those things together so that person can actively choose to engage in meaningful, pleasurable, and healthy sexual experiences that connect to and exemplify each individual person's personal values, wants, needs, and boundaries. So essentially, a holistic sexual health is all about dissecting what exactly it is in life that empowers a person to embrace and enjoy their sexuality in the most authentic and enriching way. So real quick, let's just look at what each of those different elements means for your kids. So when we're talking about building confidence and security, for your kids, that's all about them feeling comfortable and free to be themselves, who, whether that be in terms of their physical body, their feelings, their emotions, or their sexual identity. And when we're talking about nurturing healthy relationships, we're talking about kids feeling safe, secure, and happy in their relationships, whether those are romantic or non-romantic relationships. Talking about kids having the social skills and competencies to build healthy relationships. And then also that they have relationships in their life that add value and meaning and are a place of comfort and freedom for them. And in terms of exercising autonomy over your sexuality and body, we are talking about our kids having the control and freedom in terms of how they choose to express their sexuality. So by expressing their own values, their own needs, their own wants, their own boundaries, all in terms, age appropriate, um, age appropriate examples of each of those things. And then they have the control and freedom of their body, by choosing to engage in the sexual experiences of their choice, like in terms of when, what, and with who, again, in age appropriate ways. And by being able to choose when and if they'd like to have a family, and having free access to information and services and products that empower them to take ownership of the sexual activity or sexual experiences that they choose to engage in. And then understanding how their body works and keeping it working at an optimal level. So for our kids, we want them to have medically accurate information and knowledge that's also age appropriate, that of an understanding of, what does their body look like, what do bodies, not just their bodies but all bodies, what do they look like, how do they work, in terms of sexual and reproductive anatomy and reproduction, the sexual response, and these other biological processes. And we want them to have access to to valid and reliable information, services, and products that are going to help them keep their body working at an optimal level. And then that culminating thing is for our kids to be able to actively choose to engage in meaningful, pleasurable, and healthy sexual experiences. So when it comes to raising sexually healthy kids, this means that our kids have the knowledge and skills that allow them to intentionally engage in sexual experiences that connect to and exemplify their values, needs, wants, and boundaries. Also, that it can lead to experiences that enrich their well-being and enrich their life. As you can see, sexual health is not just about, or being sexually healthy isn't just about one thing or one element of a person's life. Instead, it's all of these interconnected elements that work together to empower a person to embrace and enjoy their sexuality throughout life. And then let me just note that everyone has a sexuality, right? Me, you, our kids, everyone. And it doesn't matter, if a person is straight, if they are asexual, if they are, gay or bisexual or whatever it is. We all have a sexuality, and it's unique to us. We all have our own unique brand of sexuality. And and no matter how no matter what our sexual identity is, we each hold these 5 core things in our lives, and the way that we express them and nurture them is going to determine how much we are actually embracing and enjoying our sexuality and living in a way that really connects to our truest selves. So, what does this all mean in terms of raising a sexually healthy child? And from my point of view, raising a kid who is sexually healthy is less about any particular sexual behavior or waiting to engage in activities until a certain time, or choosing, or basically, yeah, just to me, it's less about any particular sexual behavior, and it's all about raising a child who can think critically for themselves and make sexual decisions that are educated and that exemplify and honor our kids' personal values, needs, wants, and boundaries. So basically, if we think about those five core elements that I was talking about earlier, essentially, a sexually healthy child is one who is actively building self-esteem and confidence, is developing social and emotional skills, learning how to establish healthy relationships, one who's given space and freedom and opportunity to exercise autonomy over their body and their sexuality, and then building the self-advocacy skills, the communication skills to voice those opinions and those thoughts. Um, Also, a kid who is actively building a medically accurate understanding of how their body works and how all bodies work, and then learning how to take care of their own body and keep it functioning at an optimal level, all while knowing and identifying what it means for them personally to engage in an experience, whether it be sexual, social, or otherwise, that is meaningful, pleasurable, and healthy, and actively choosing to engage in experiences that meet the defined criteria. So when we think about all of these things, um, I find it so encouraging, this holistic definition of sexual health, because we can start raising sexually healthy children right now. Like, it doesn't matter if they are infants, it doesn't matter if they're in puberty, it doesn't matter if they haven't reached puberty yet. This approach is so amazing because it just gives us this guide for nurturing our kids' sexual health throughout their entire life, right? Before we even have to start having any sort of conversation about actually engaging in sexual activity, we can start building these core elements of sexual health in our children, so that as they grow up, they have this strong foundation that they can actually go out and make these enriching decisions that bring just joy and just bring just elevate the level of their well-being. So, some examples real quick. From birth on, as I'm saying, we can nurture our kids' sexual health. So we can do things like loving them for exactly who they are, right? We can tell them that their body's amazing, and we can teach them about their bodies, and we can show them how to take care of it. And we can model that too, right? We can model loving our own body, taking care of our own bodies. We can model and teach social and emotional skills. We can show them how to be kind and caring friends and partners. We can allow them to be autonomous beings and let them make age-appropriate choices for themselves. We can respect their body. We can teach them how all bodies work, right? We can read them books. We can talk about, we can answer their questions. We can guide them as they develop and define their values, their wants, needs, and boundaries. And that's not just related to sexual things, right? Just throughout all areas of their life, they have values, needs, wants, and boundaries. And we can work through those with them so they have this framework for even understanding what each of those things are. So like I said, there's no need to wait until puberty or when our kids first, start dating, or when you think that maybe they've become sexually active, to start intentionally nurturing their sexual health. We can start doing that right now by taking this holistic definition of sexual health and looking at those different pieces and seeing how we can strengthen those different pieces in our kids' lives today. And then as they grow up, we can piece it all together for them, and we can help them see how these different elements of their life all work together so that they can embrace and enjoy their sexuality throughout life in a way that really just honors and exemplifies who they are. All right, so that is it for this quick Facebook Live. I just have one question for you to think about as you go. Feel free to, drop a comment in the chat box or in the Facebook group, or shoot me an email. You can reply to the weekly emails. But just wondering, what's one thing that you feel like you can do right now to help nurture your child's sexual health and well-being? So, well, that is it for this Facebook Live. I will see you next week again on Tuesday, and I hope you have a fantastic day. And please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything I can do to help you talk to your kids about sex with confidence, clarity, and purpose.